Hey everybody, how are y'all doing? Red, Dorinda, Shane, Patrick, left card. Time, I already said hello to you since you had to leave. Dorinda, sister in Christ. Could sure use you up here tonight, sister in Christ. Patrick, I think I might have already said Patrick. Patrick's worth two hellos. Cindy, Navita, Jen. It's good to see all y'all. Crazy times we're in, huh? Is this your first time, Melvita? I could have sworn I've seen you before in here, but I know I've seen you around. Well, it's usually about pretty much anything, but tonight I'm going to be a little more specific. Hey, Garrett. It's good to have you here, You can decide if you like it or not. Not all of these channels are for everybody. Ronan, good to see you. Um, hey, Jen. Could I say hello to Jen? I'm seeing a lot of channels quitting. I'm seeing a lot of frustration. I'm seeing people giving up. I'm seeing people losing it completely. I'm seeing people losing heart, losing faith, losing something. I don't know, you know, I don't even know why there's so many channels. Y'all know how I started. And then I thought, well, what's the use in doing this if we're not going to learn something from it? And so I just feel like we haven't been learning a whole lot here. Oh, I'm not giving up, hon. I don't give up easily. And I know He's guiding me. And as long as He's guiding me to do this, I'll be doing this. So, with that, I'm going to say a prayer for all of us. Dear Lord, we ask you to please be with us tonight. Let us know what you want from us. Lord, I ask you to hold up our men and women. Give them strength. Give them courage. Give them the voice that they need. Father, we see so many suffering and struggling, and we knew these times would come. Just let us have the courage and strength to endure whatever may come. I ask that you just bring us all together. This is our family. We are all your children. We see your blessings all around us, and we thank you for them. We ask you to just guide us here and now. In the name of Jesus, amen. And that's true. Love to garden. I've seen that too. So, some of the things that I've been thinking about, well, today, I was on Facebook and we have a neighborhood group and it's got almost 2,000 people in it. And so I typed out, we always are, we're proud to claim that we are a close-knit community. So how would y'all feel about trying to become a more self-sustaining community? And I sat there and I looked at that for quite a while. And I was like, is this going to get me? I don't know. And then I erased it. I didn't post it. And then I thought, why didn't I post that? What held me back? Is it fear? We can't have fear. There's too many other. I'm I'm not afraid of what's coming. I don't think we're at the place. Are we weeping and gnashing teeth? I haven't actually seen that. So I think we're okay still. My fears are little fears. they're not um, they're not of what's going on out there. That's not fear that I feel about that. That's more like an anger, I guess. I don't even know if you'd call it. Well, yeah, it's anger. This is our country. This is my state. And what's being allowed to happen can make you angry. And so I have to think, what can I personally do about it? Right here in my community, there are things that I can do, and I'm working on them. I still need to send that post because I know that I'm going to get responses, good or bad. It doesn't matter. If there's 4 people that want to meet up with me about it, there's 4 people to count on to start. Once we start, maybe it'll turn into a snowball and more people will start joining in. It's not political. It's not anything like that. It's just, you know, where we live can be affected by anything at any time. Snowmageddon showed us all that. And if I can teach my local community anything that I've learned on YouTube from all these amazing channels, then I'm doing something. Most people are out working their rear ends off just to live because I'm in a really expensive area. And so if I can teach them some of the things that I know they haven't had time to go look up or look at, then that's something. I was told today how to make a solar oven. About the only thing I might have to buy is a piece of glass, but there's people getting rid of old windows all the time. So I don't even know that I'd have to buy that. cardboard box and foil. Who would have thought? um, and it's those things. It's those things that I want to share and share here. You know, how many of y'all knew that? Do y'all know how to make a solar oven? Anybody? Dorinda, we like to make things. No, I want to learn how to make things that are useful. In packing and moving, that's been the toughest thing for me is everything I pick up. How can I use this? Is it gonna benefit us in any way? And so I'm getting rid of so many things because it's junk. It's just junk. And I'm trying to just get the junk out of my life. Oh, you do have a post on how to make a solar oven? Awesome, Dorinda. There you go. John Dunning. Yep. Yep. And you probably can. Two of those glass, uh, like cake sized dishes put together, that'd probably do the same thing, maybe. I don't know. If you put foil down in the bottom of it, shiny side up. Yeah, I'm getting rid of a lot of stuff. And when I moved here, I wanted to move to the beach, but the girls wouldn't have it. And so I made my house a beach house. And now I'm like, I've got people kept Christmas and birthdays. Everyone kept bringing me all this beachy stuff. And now I'm overloaded with beach stuff. And I thought about having a yard sale, but who else wants a beach house in the whole country? Not too many people. So I think I'm just going to donate it. Maybe somebody out there will like it, but I don't know. I was just thinking, I am from this. I'm in Texas. I don't think I have that much of an accent. Okay, when I get mad, I say "dadgummit." Hilarious too was really having fun with that one the other night. She said that's the old people's cuss word, cursing or something like that. You're in Kentucky? Awesome. I've been to Kentucky. It was a beautiful state. In 1994, I went there for Christmas, and it was an ice storm. We got stuck there for extra days, but everything looked like crystal. It was just beautiful. I was in Somerset. Beautiful people there. The grass stayed green even in the snow. John, you're Louisiana. How can you tell if I have a Texas accent? Doggone. Yeah, doggone it. Yeah. Well, I guess it was the Christmas of '93, and we came back January. And it's funny because it never snows in Texas. And when I came back, it snowed here. And everybody said, "You brought it back with you." And I said, "I guess so. Enjoy it while you can." But I just feel like um, there's been times when I've been trying to talk about a topic, or somebody else has, and it seems to get sidetracked. Oh my goodness, sister in Christ, that's a lot. I'm so sorry. I hope that you have found alternative ways to do everything, and that's what brought me to YouTube. Was um, when we had grid down here in Texas. And if you remember it, that must have been unusual for y'all in Kentucky. But there's a lot of things that I want to talk about, like first aid, and not just basic first aid that all us mothers know, is more um, even deeper first aid. I don't know what you'd call it. Extreme. You know, you kind of hate to go into a hospital anymore, or the doctor's office, or anything, and Texican. Well, I like Tex-Mex food. Um, so I don't want to be totally serious, but just wanna make sure that everybody's prepared for anything that can happen in your area. Hey, sick and tired, good to see you. Dorinda. Okay, a little more than nice. Like, you know, um, I just read this horrible article today. Excuse me. Little 4-year-old boy. Um, they were playing. Somebody was there about the pool. The little the little boy jumped off the porch or the deck or whatever it was, like normal, but he had a juice with a metal straw in it, and it stabbed his throat, and he didn't make it. So, I don't know if there's a way to stop that from happening. That's a little extreme, but you know, if somebody's bleeding, what do you do? If Do you know how to pack it? Do you know how to stop it? Do you know how to use a tourniquet? Do you know how to um, just things like that? Just, you never heard of a metal straw? I hadn't either until I started seeing them pop up in my silverware drawer. And once I read that article, I thought, okay, the metal straws are going to go in the trash. I don't know where the girls are getting them, but um, Well, one might be good if, for whatever reason, you had to do is it called a tracheotomy? The and a metal straw would be probably easier to sterilize to put in that hole if you ever had to do it, instead of a pin or something like that people talk about using. Herbal medicine, that's awesome. And that's another thing is, you know, um, Aquaman Survival, I have the most respect for you, always. But, um, he's in Arkansas, I'm in Texas. I'm sure that I don't have a lot of the plants that he has. And also, like some people are talking about doing things with pine bark, and so are the pine trees in Texas the same kind of pine that's being talked about? And so I'm real leery of all of that, of just going out and foraging, because I'm totally clueless. I don't have a book. If y'all can get a book, get it for your area though, because different areas can have different types and look the same and be absolutely poisonous. So just be careful with that. Travis, good to see you. Hope you're having fun in Florida. And John Dunning, Calm Sense. It's good to see all y'all. I'm sure I've missed a few. So anyway, Gigi's gonna be having her fun stuff and games tomorrow night and Wednesday night, and I'll be back on Thursday night and hope to have some good stuff to talk about. I wasn't as prepared as I thought I was tonight, and that's why I almost didn't go on. And then I was like, well, what did I miss? What happened to T Girl? T Girl, good to see you. Oh my goodness. Praise God it didn't fall on them. That would be awesome, Com Sense. I'll drop the link. And that's cool, Jim. Yep, it's good to know who in your local community is medical anything. Even dentists and veterinarians. You'd be surprised what they know. Hello,
So
how are you tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you, Bonnie?
Pretty good.
Good. I have everything off. Is that me with the
Do you?
echo?
I don't hear an echo.
Oh, okay, good.
You
Mm.
sound good.
All right, awesome. So, I have a whole CPR first aid class that I do for 8 hours for my work. They certified me as an instructor. So, I mean, I can go through basic first aid with you guys, but for the CPR, I can do a general, but if you don't have the annies, it's really hard to show you, or
Right.
you know what I mean?
I do. And
Yeah,
so I do have a question for you. If you're
sure.
doing CPR,
Mhm.
um, there's a bag that does the air. What is that called?
Oh, that respirator bag?
Yes.
Yeah, normally just the EMTs have those.
Oh, so it's not something just anybody can get.
Well, you could, I think, but you'd have to go to a medical supply store, I believe.
Okay.
Um,
I'm gonna look that up because we like if it's an elderly person, you know how frail they are, and
mhm.
it that would be just horrible to know I was breaking bones. Nope, just
Well,
I
here's the thing. Um, a lot of people have a misunderstanding of CPR and what it can do. Okay.
mm-hmm,
And I teach this in my classes all the time. And I ask everybody first off, what do you think the biggest misconception about CPR is? And nobody can give me an answer. So I'll tell them a lot of people think that just because you start CPR, that you're going to revive that person. And 99.9% of the time, you're not going to. What you're doing, what the CPR is doing, is you are giving them time between the accident or the incident
mm-hmm,
and them getting to professional medical services. So the human brain can only survive for 3 to 4 minutes, depending on the person, without oxygen, without doing brain damage.
right,
So what you're doing basically is you're breathing for them. You're giving them that oxygen. And when you're doing the chest compressions, you're moving that blood, which has oxygen in it, through to their vital organs and to their brain.
okay,
Um, and um,
and
when
the
you're doing CPR, if you're not cracking bones, you're not doing it right. Because if you think about it, you have a rib cage that is hard bone, right? That's
yeah,
covering those vital organs, the heart, the lungs, the areas that you want to stimulate are covered by a cage of bones, which
yeah,
is your rib cage. Well, if you're not cracking bones, you're not putting enough pressure down in there to do any good, to circulate anything. On our annies, there is when you press down on them, they have a click. And if you don't hear that click, you're not pushing down hard enough or far enough. The other thing is you can't give CPR to anybody unless they're on a hard surface. It's just not going to work. You're not going to get that leverage. Um,
oh
and
gosh, I didn't expect this to turn out like this.
oh, I'm sorry. Am I giving too much information?
No, it's okay. It's just so the respirator bag wouldn't work to get that oxygen to them.
It would fill their lungs with oxygen, but it's not going to circulate anything to their organs if you're not
Okay,
doing the compressions. If
okay,
that's all you can do, it's better than nothing, right?
right.
So So what I tell people is, because everybody's, they take my class and then they're all worried about forgetting the steps, right? Okay, I got to do, 30 compressions in 30 seconds, which is the minimum, which is 60 compressions per minute. And usually you need to do double that to match the heart rate of a normal person, which is 120 beats per minute. And giving the 2 breaths and when to do that and da 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 da, right? And am I doing it right? And I tell them, look, if you do nothing, the person is probably going to die, correct?
Correct.
If you do something, even if you're just giving them breaths, even if you're not doing it exactly right, at least you're doing something that may help. If you do nothing, it's guaranteed they're going to die. So, I try to get that fear out of people's. What if I do it wrong? What if I break a bone? What if I, don't get the right, compressions to breathing ratio done? You know what? It's like riding a bicycle. It's gonna come back to you instinctively. And when I'm going through these classes, it's like a step-by-step, right? And there's a lot of information. But when you're in an actual emergency situation, your brain is just like that, right? So you're doing this just automatically. Plus, most people have cell phones now. Now, before we had cell phones, it was more critical to be able to perform CPR, first aid on the scene and assess the situation and make the correct, the most pertinent decisions for that situation. Well, now with cell phones, you can just call 911 and they'll walk you through it.
Right.
Plus, if you're in a public place, most places, and I'm talking about, libraries, grocery stores, department stores, a lot of them have AEDs now. And the AEDs will give you even that much more, give the person that much more chance of a success rate.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. My dad was an EMT for a fire department for 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
And in that 35 years, with all of the emergencies and stuff that he's responded to, he was only able to revive before the ambulance got there. He was only able to revive one gal.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And they gave him an award for that. Now, but here's the thing, it's all about timing and the circumstance too, because he was in the house when my mom collapsed and died of a heart attack. And by the time he found her, it was too late.
Right.
So he did CPR on her, but there was no bringing her back. You don't know how long they've been there. You don't know. It's based on a whole bunch of different variables, as far as that straw thing, where did it, was he sucking on it and it went through the back of his throat?
From the way it sounded, it went through the top because the blood was coming out of his mouth. They kept him leaning forward so he wouldn't choke on it and or breathe it. And I don't know. I read so far and I was like, okay, just because we have metal straws, and I wanted to see what in the world happened. And
Well, with something like that, I mean, if it went through the top of his mouth
He bled out. Yeah.
and it went through the nasal cavity, you got a lot of things back here, you know.
Yes.
And if you go back through your nasal cavity through the back, you can go through the blood-brain barrier,
Yes.
which is to your brain. And
Yeah.
so I'm assuming, and I'm not a doctor, but I'm assuming it was just like an aneurysm
Yeah.
where he just bled out. You know, there's really not much you can do as far as first aid for that
I
because,
understand that. That's what I
yeah,
said. I don't think that there was anything they could have done to
yeah,
prevent that one. But
no, I mean,
so, can I
yeah,
ask you a couple of questions?
sure.
Um, so when you're doing the compressions, you have to do mouth to mouth at the same time.
Well, you do the compressions, you count them out,
Mm-hmm.
and then you stop. If you're the only one there, you stop and then give them compression, or I'm sorry, give them breaths and
Yes.
2 breaths, and then you check to see if obviously anything's changed. You know, real quick glance, and then you go back to the CPR or the compressions. Um,
And I know
so,
people drowning, a lot have been saved by that.
mhm, yep, because what they're doing is when you're giving the compressions, you're
Mm-hmm.
getting you're forcing the water out of the lungs is what you're doing. Um, so then when they start coughing or if they jerk or something like that, you roll them so that the water comes out of their mouth. Um, and then and the other thing too is you got to make sure that you're giving it. So um, a lot of people make the mistake of doing compressions too low,
Mm-hmm.
which basically all you're doing is giving compressions to the stomach area, which then will make them throw up, which
Oh,
can cause aspiration.
aspiration. Yes.
Yes. So when you uh, when you look at your body, you have your ribs, right? Follow your ribs up to where they meet
Mm-hmm.
at the point. There should be a little uh, sternum type thing in the middle there, and then you take your 2 fingers and go up from that point, and that's where you should put the palm of your hand and
Yes.
lace your hands. Make sure your elbows are straight because if you're doing this and your
Mm-hmm.
elbows are giving, you're not getting enough pressure. Um, so you need to lock your hands, get on your knees, make sure that you're standing up on your knees and that your elbows are straight and locked, your hands are laced, and that the palm of your hand is 2 inches above where
Yeah.
um, your rib cage meets. Um, and then do compressions from there. Because, like I said, if you do it too low, you're going to be doing it on their stomach. If you do it too high, you're not going to. The rib cage is too solid right there, so you got to go at the weakest point. It's kind of a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Um, and I joke because AHA tells us to you know draw a line between the two nipples of the victim. And
Mm-hmm.
I joke with them a lot because it's like, okay, how many of us have nipples that perfectly line up to where our hands are supposed to be, especially if you're a woman. And you can
Yeah.
have guys that way too, right?
Right.
Um, so it's like, no, that's not going to work unless it's a baby or somebody under 12, you're not going to be able to do that on a
Right.
regular adult. So, yeah, I joke around about it and say, look, you know what? All modesty goes out the window when you're in an emergency situation and you're having to do CPR first aid. Because with women, you have to, take the bra off. For men, you have to clear that chest area in order to work on it. So
Yes, John Dunning. That's
Hmm.
check the airway to make sure
Yep.
there's nothing blocking.
Yep. And do not stick your fingers in their mouth. Only do a visual.
I have
Okay.
my daughter bought uh, it's a device for choking that
Hmm.
like I guess it pulls it out. I haven't
Oh, really?
checked it out yet, but yeah, it's like a suction thing, I think,
Kind of like a snot sucker for babies?
for when they're choking.
Yeah. You know how you get those little bulb snot suckers for babies, infants? You
Yeah,
know?
except
Yeah.
this is a lot bigger, but
Yeah. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Yeah.
because my
Yeah. Those are.
granddaughter, she did choke on
Oh.
I think it was pizza, and um my granddaughter got my oldest granddaughter, she got to her quicker than I did, and we got it out. But
So
yeah,
what
it's
did you do? Did you
scary.
slap her on the back or did you
Like
just?
kind of laid her over the arm and start patting her back, and so that gave the pressure on the stomach, and like I don't know, it worked. I'm
Well,
not
good.
saying it would always work, but I
Right.
think that's why she bought the device.
Mm. So basically, if somebody's choking, number one, if they are still able to talk and they're coughing,
Hmm.
or if they're coughing, leave them alone. Don't do anything. Okay. Till they can't, and they're doing this,
She'll
asking. This is the international sign for choking, right?
right.
Um, don't pat them on the back. Um, See if they can cough it out themselves. If they can't, and you can see they are either going to lose consciousness, they've stopped coughing, or they have lost consciousness, put your arms, get in back of them, put one leg, your knee in between their legs,
Hmm.
okay? So that if they slump on you, their butt can rest on your knee, okay?
Right.
Um, and then take your arms, go underneath their arms, and then I don't know if you can see this.
Yes.
Okay, take that, put this part right under the sternum,
Hmm.
and then put this hand over it and do a in and up,
Heimlich. Okay.
in and up. Okay, that'll, you know, get, and you should see them move like this. Okay,
Yes.
and you just keep doing that um, until
It pops.
they, yeah, cough it up. Most
Yeah.
of the times that works. If it doesn't work the first time, do it harder. You know,
Yeah.
um, for babies, what you want to do is if they're small enough, if they're infants, I don't know if you can see this, but it's really hard for me to see where this camera is.
You
Where is it?
can.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Where, where's my hand? So for infants, if they're small enough to fit in the forearm
Right.
of your hand, you want to spread your fingers like this,
Hmm.
put their nose and mouth, their head flat down, and their nose and mouth right here in
Between.
between your fingers. Okay,
Right.
so you don't block their airway. Put them on their stomach and have one leg go over each side of your arm.
Yes.
Yep. And then a lot of it's easiest if you sit down and you rest your elbow on your knee so
Hope
that
you
you
don't
can.
mind.
What's that?
Hope you don't mind that. They're wanting to
Oh
see
no.
you better.
Oh, okay. Um, so here, I'm trying to fix this. My camera's on one end of my tablet, and so it's really weird. So then once you have the baby, right here,
Hmm.
rest your elbow on your knee, should be sitting down, and then you can give back thrusts. Okay?
Yes.
Until the baby stops. Now, what I did when my son was choking, he was just an infant. He just wasn't breathing. He wasn't coughing. He wasn't seeming like he was choking or anything. I got the snot sucker and just bulbed his nostrils and his mouth, and that released, somehow phlegm was keeping him from breathing.
Yes.
And I got the phlegm out, and it was fine. So I didn't have to do, the back blows or anything like that. So that's the only time you really do back blows is on infants.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
it worked on her. She was probably a year and a half when that happened.
Oh, yeah. That's still considered an infant. Under 2 is still, well, not an infant, but I think they still consider them under 2 years old. They still consider them in an infant category. At least AAH does.
Okay. And so also, when we were talking about the CPR, defibrillator, does that take the place of CPR or?
So when you get an AED, which is, I can't even remember. It says an electronic device or something like that. I don't remember. Anyway, the AED, when you unpack it, it will have scissors in there so you can cut off any clothing that needs to be removed.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you plug it in, so you plug in the little pads. Okay, it comes with little pads, and it comes with different size pads for adults and children.
Right.
If it doesn't, use whatever pads you got. Okay? Something's better than nothing. You're not going to do any more damage than the critical situation that they're already in. Right? So those pads are sticky, very, very sticky. So it has to be clean and dry, the area where you place the patches.
Mm-hmm.
So say you're at the gym and you notice this guy who's, hairy on his chest, and he's sweating because he's been playing basketball or whatever, right?
Right.
Use your shirt, use something, anything to dry them off. And then that pad can actually work as basically, what do they call that when you take the hair off your legs? Wax, like a wax strip.
Yes.
That's how sticky it is.
Oh, I
Put it
know.
on there.
My
You put it on there
very
and
hairy
rip
and
it off. Yep. Because it's got to make good contact. Okay. A lot of times, those AED kits will have a shaver in there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Scissors to cut clothing off. And then it tells you exactly on the pad, it tells you this pad goes actually over here on the side that your heart isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And the other pad goes over here under the breast to the side where your heart is.
Right.
Okay. Turn on the machine, and the machine says, stand back, analyzing. So it will analyze. It'll say victim not, or no rhythms, whatever, no sinus rhythms. And then it'll say, stay away from the victim. Don't touch the victim, something to that effect.
Yes.
Make sure you don't touch them because it's going to give an electric shock.
Right.
Okay. So it'll shock them. It'll analyze again, and then it'll tell you continue CPR. Then it'll tell you to stop. It even has a metronome.
Mm-hmm.
Tick, 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 tell you how fast you should be doing those compressions. It'll tell you to stop, give 2 breaths. I mean, it walks you through it like you don't even need to have a class. It's so good.
Wow.
Yeah. And plus, like I said, a lot of people have phones now.
Mm-hmm.
So call 911 or point to somebody and say, call 911. A lot of times, you know, they'll ask you all this information and stuff like that, but put it on speaker so that you can do hands-free what you need to do.
Right.
Yep. And they'll stay on the line with you until emergency medical comes.
And the reason I'm asking all this is, okay, I'm in a small community, and I know a lot of people are um, out in the country, away from, and so our fire department, they do, um, if EMS, if they have a person that's totally unresponsive, and it's a pretty good ways to a hospital from here. And so they will call in the fire department to help with the CPR, because one person, it's really hard for them to keep it up. And so they swap out.
Yep, exactly. And that's another thing. If you're in an emergency situation like that, the first thing you do is assess the area, assess your surroundings. Okay. If there are people around, next thing you do, you assess the surroundings. You go up to the individual, say, "Hey, are you okay?" If they're not responsive, and there's somebody else around, you point at somebody, make contact, and say, "You." And if they respond back to you, then you say, "You call 911." Instead of just yelling out, "Somebody call 911." Who's going to take responsibility, right?
Right.
You don't know if somebody's going to or not. The next question is, does anybody else here know CPR? I do. Do you want to do two-person? Can you help me doing two-person CPR? Absolutely. Because it does get very, very tiring. Now, your adrenaline's going to be going really high. So you're not going to feel it right away. But you'd be surprised at how fast. I have to do a 2-minute cycle to test out all of my all the staff that take my class in order to qualify for to have their little CPR first aid certificate. And after about 45 seconds, 1 minute, all of them are like, "Oh my gosh." I'm like, "Yeah, it's hard." It'll take it out of you. So yes, that's they usually have a few people certified in CPR, especially on fire departments, so that they can rotate out and give people breaks. But if you're there by yourself, do the best you can. Even if you have to take a 15-second break, at least give them 2 breaths. After your compressions, give them 2 breaths, take a 15-second break.
As long as they've gotten some oxygen to their brain.
Exactly. Yep.
Got it.
And what a lot of people don't know is that when you're giving breaths, if somebody's head is like this, okay, like we normally sit, so they're on the ground, they're laying there, and their head is flat, right? That's not going to get air into their airway. You have to tilt their head back.
Yes.
And put your hand on their forehead and open their chin. Okay. Now we have masks that we use, and you can buy those anywhere from $3 to $15, depending on how fancy you want to get, right?
Yes.
But when you're holding their head back, if you don't have a mask, then you're opening their mouth and you're pinching their nose so that it only goes into their mouth. Now, in babies, you're going to do both because they're small.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You'll cover their nose and their mouth with your mouth.
Well, we have those little, I don't even know what you call it, but you put it in their mouth. Your mouths aren't touching. It's a little.
Yep, I've seen those. They have the little kind of oval thing, and you put it in their mouth, and then the plastic shield goes over their face.
Yeah, and then you're breathing in that.
Yeah. Yep, and there's all different kinds of masks. I wouldn't go to AAH for them because they're really expensive. I cannot remember who I bought all of ours from. but they're a lot cheaper. I can,
Yeah, Jen, she just had to do that for her neighbor.
oh, wow,
3 times she's saved
6
her
to 7
neighbor.
minutes. That's a long time.
Yep.
Yep, and that's the thing is what people don't realize is, like when I'm giving a class and I'm making them do it for 2 minutes, um, they're not in a heightened state of their adrenaline isn't going because it's not a real emergency.
Right.
But when you're in a real emergency, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have seen just miraculous things that people can do when they're in that heightened state with
Yes.
that adrenaline rushing, like lifting cars off of people, which you normally wouldn't be able to do. But when you get that adrenaline rush, you do what it's part of our survival instinct,
Yes.
So
I can understand that.
yeah, just know your arms are going to be sore for a while
Yes.
the next day. And here's the other thing too is that
Good evening, Nanya.
what I teach in my class, because being a part of an incident like that, people don't realize the psychological impact that it has on them. And that is why if you are a first responder and the police show up or the fire department or the EMS or emergency vehicle shows up and now you're relieved of your duties,
Yes.
and they're like, they don't just say thank you, bye. They bring you over. They should anyway. If they're not, they should be. Most of the times they will take one of those Mylar blankets, put it around you, have you sit for a little while so they can keep an eye on you so they know that you're not going into shock. Because once you come down from that adrenaline rush,
Mm-hmm.
you can go into shock, which is not good. Shock isn't a good thing.
Right.
So that's why they have you sit. And you're like, no, I'm fine. Well, let's just make sure. Okay. So if they're asking you to do that, just please follow their instructions. They know what they're doing. And then afterwards, you're going to be thinking, wow, did that person make it? Did I do any good?
Yep.
So part of the debriefing of that and helping the first responder with the mental part, the emotional part, the psychological part of that situation
Mm-hmm.
is you can call the police department, you can call the fire department, and you can say, look, I don't need a name, but I was the first responder on scene at this accident or wherever it was on this date. I just want to know if that person is okay.
Yeah.
And they will give you that information. And if the person is not okay, if it didn't turn out well, they will usually tell you, look, there was nothing you could have done that would save this person, because even the medical facility couldn't save them. So it's part of that, not letting the first responder suffer from mental anguish over the situation. Does that make sense?
Yes. It takes a strong person to be able to do all of that, to be able to detach.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's the thing is that, EMT, even the EMTs, the hospital staff, they have debriefings. That's why they go in and do after each one, they write their report, but they also talk to somebody.
Yes.
Because what part of that is what they're trying to do is to assess their mental state, to see if they need to talk to somebody further, if they need to follow up with this first responder or whatever, because that's a real thing. That first three, I mean, look at 9/11.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how many people suffered from the psychological after that situation?
Well, and it's all of it. The fire
Mhm.
department,
Yeah.
any wreck that you come up on,
Hmm.
they can be really horrific. And
Yes.
I know my son had to, well, he didn't do it. And for 2 weeks, he just sat in a bar. And I finally, you're going in and you're talking to, and at that time it was our director of EMS. And I knew him well. And I had been talking to him about that. And apparently the chief of the fire department did also. And so we kind of did an intervention. And,
Hmm.
um, but the accident he went up on was his girlfriend. So,
Oh.
yeah, it was,
Oh, that's awful.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. People kind of, a lot of people that I run into, they're like, "Oh man, I'd love to take a first aid CPR class." That type of thing.
Yes.
And what I try to instill in my classes is, number one, the importance of it and
Hmm.
what to expect. Because people think that, oh, okay, I'll just give them a couple of compressions and a couple of breaths and everything will be fine. That's not usually how it works. So I prepare them for what could happen.
If they're to that point, it usually takes some time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So,
Mm.
um,
But that's the thing is, I didn't intend to go this far tonight, but it's okay.
sorry.
No, it's good. Um, this is things people need to know because you know we have threats all around us, and we don't know.
Yep.
And so it's good that I'm seeing all these people in the chat
Mhm.
saying that they're CPR certified or
Mhm.
they've had training.
You're welcome, John. John.
Oh, that's awesome, Nunya. Yeah, Nunya, Texas, they just had a meeting and he's
Mhm.
saying that they did a CPR and first aid training.
Yep. And that's the thing, who I just lost it. Somebody said that they're not cut out for emergency situations, and some people aren't.
I'm not.
Um, yeah, emergency situations. If you're sensitive to anxiety attacks,
Yes,
that type of thing, that's totally understandable. But at least do something. Call 911.
yes,
Um, you know, do what you can. I mean, I think those instincts uh, kind of just kick in. If you see somebody in trouble, you want to help them. For
yes.
most people. Um,
And
although I have, sorry.
that's the way it is with I say I'm not good with emergency situations, but when it's been my children,
Mhm.
it's like you said, that adrenaline kicks in, the instinct of being a mother, the whatever it is, you do
Yep.
what you have to do at that moment. And then later you can fall apart and go
Right.
psycho. But
Yeah. And that's, the last time I had to give, uh, that I was first on the scene was um, driving down a busy road right before Christmas.
hmm.
Um, and this car came whizzing by me, caught the median, and went around like this, went into a light pole, and flipped the car over.
Oh goodness.
And it was really surprising to me. Um, I parked my car, put on my flashers, called 911, and this car is upside down right next to the road in somebody's front yard.
Hmm.
And all these cars were just passing by. I was the only one that stopped.
Yep.
And so I'm on the phone with 911. I go up and I'm the back. It was like a Bronco type vehicle, and the back glass was shattered. The top of the car was smashed down, so we couldn't open the door.
Right.
And I'm, she's like, "Well, how is the 911 gal? How is the guy?" And I'm like, I'm yelling for a response. Hello, are you okay? Please respond if you are okay. And then I saw baby seats
Oh
in the
no.
back seat, and I flipped for a second. It just grabbed my heart, and then I'm like, I can't freak out right now, And so I just told the 911 operator, I said, the driver is not responding. I'm not getting a response from anybody inside the car, and there's 2 baby seats in the car. I'm going to try and go around to the passenger's or the driver's side window. The guy was passed out. I'm banging on the window. I'm yelling. And I'm trying to see if there's kids
Children.
and I couldn't see from the angle whether there were children in there. And so finally, when he woke up, I said, "Sir, are you okay?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think so." I go, "Are there any children in your vehicle?" No, they're with my wife. And I just, in my head, went, "Oh, thank God."
Yes.
And then I'm hearing the sirens coming. The hospital was only a mile away. So, but all this happened in the matter of 5 minutes, and I'm, the 911 gal, she's like, "Tell him not to move." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm trying to." And he wasn't listening to me, and trying to yell through that back window to have him hear me. It didn't seem like it was like he was hearing me,
Right.
So, and I'm trying to put the poor gal on 911. I'm yelling at the top of my lungs so he could hear me, and I'm sure I'm blowing out her ears, right?
Right.
And I'm like, "Sir, please stay in the car." And I could see him moving around and trying to get out. And I'm like, "You can't get out. You're stuck. Wait for help is on the way."
Jaws of life.
Yeah, and I said, "Please don't move." And he's like, "No, no, no, I got it." And I'll just climb out the back. I'm like, "Sir, you really shouldn't move, but you can't make somebody stay, right?"
Right.
So he did. He ended up climbing out the back, and just at that moment, the police showed up and the fire truck, and they assessed him. They pulled me aside and had me sit for a while, so I didn't get to really see what was going on, whether they transported him or not. They got my report. They saw I was good. I went on my merry way, just to get out of their way. I didn't stay around and gawk. My job was done.
Yes.
The big boys are here. Let them take over,
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm pretty good at making the phone call, but I don't. I think the worst accident I ever saw, I was probably 24, 25, and it was a school bus.
Ooh.
And it was not good. And it just stuck with me. I don't know.
Wow. That would be tough.
Yes.
I mean, just the reaction, the visceral gut reaction that I had when I saw those car seats in there.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was like, oh, so I don't know how I would react if I came upon a scene where there actually were children.
Yeah. I couldn't even drive. I had to pull over and let my friend drive.
And I mean, if that's all you can do, I mean, nobody's going to blame anybody for, not doing enough. Okay, everybody's different in what they are capable of handling.
Yeah.
And if you can't handle it, you're not going to be any good to that victim. So if the only thing that you can do is call 911,
Yes.
that's okay. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
you know you, you know. So I was a little surprised that I was the only one that stopped on such a busy road,
I understand.
you
And
know.
it's kind of gotten that way. Even, well, years ago, my car broke down. It was over 100 degrees. My daughter and I were walking up the highway because nobody would stop. Had the hood out, every signal that I was broke down, and so we just started walking towards a town, and um, people I knew, and they were just driving by, and I'm like, we really are not just walking for fun here. And
Right.
total strangers stopped, and I was leery of getting in their vehicle, but they were the only ones that stopped, and so we did. And they were, they had the bandanas on their heads, and not.
Well, and that's the thing nowadays. Back before cell phones,
Yeah.
everybody stopped to check on people, right?
Well, you
If
would have
somebody was,
thought.
yeah,
That was
you know,
before cell phones.
right. So phones have been a godsend and a curse,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because everybody thinks that, well, you have a cell phone, you can call for help,
Yeah.
right? Well, how do you know that? How do you know their cell phone isn't dead? So I still stop
Yeah.
and ask if everything's okay, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and
Especially
sometimes
if
they
it's a
don't.
woman.
Hmm?
Especially if it's a woman. If I see her with her hood up,
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
the last one. It was pouring down rain. She's out there with her hood up, and of course she couldn't figure it out. And I stopped and realized she needed gas, and so a gentleman had stopped also from the electric company, and I said, "Do you want to ride to the gas station to get gas?" And she said, "I'll ride with you." She didn't feel comfortable riding with the man, and so I took her to the gas station, got her gas, and took her back, and then
Yep.
she got on her way. But
Yep. And here's the other, just a few more tips. A lot of us are already preppers, right? That
hmm
are on these channels and stuff. But I tell everybody, and they don't even, it astonishes me how unprepared a lot of these younger folk are. Um, so I tell them, keep a first aid kit in your car, keep a
yeah,
blanket in your car, keep some water or
yes,
a way to clean water in your car, keep snacks, non-perishable snacks, hand warmers in the winter. We have pretty brutal winters out here.
yeah,
Um, so hand warmers, anything that can keep you warm. If you get stuck in a blizzard and your car goes off the side of the road in the wintertime, a shovel. Even if they can't afford a shovel, get uh, uh, a mat, like a doormat. You can put
mhm,
that in the back of your car and use that to put on your tires if your tire gets stuck, right? And you're just spinning your wheels to get unstuck. But a shovel's good in case you need to shovel yourself out. You need to be self-reliant.
yes,
Um, uh, keep your gas tank, even if you're only a quarter down, keep your gas tank full, especially in the wintertime, because we have accidents up here that you could be stuck on a freeway because a semi quarter of a mile ahead hit some black ice and jackknife.
right,
And now you have no idea how long you're going to be sitting there. And you want to make sure that you're going to be able to keep that car running so you can keep the heat on. right? And the
Yes.
food and all that stuff, so that you don't have to rely. You don't become the next emergency. In the next emergency they have to attend to during the first emergency.
Yes. And
Um,
even here, I carry a blanket in my car because shock
yep,
is usually,
yep, and it doesn't even need to be a heavy duty blanket. I keep a heavy duty blanket in my car. Plus, I keep the Mylar blanket in my car because it's in my first aid kit. But um, we had a gentleman, and it was really hot and humid here, and he was trying to go up this hill. Well, he refused my help. He looked like he was going to just pass out and keel over, right? Um, he was trying to push his bike with a cart on the back of it, like a
mhm,
trailer, pushing it up a very steep incline, and it was hotter than blazes out. And
yes,
so I pulled over and I said, "Can I help you? We can, uh, I don't know, throw your bike in the back of my car and I'll bring you to the top of the hill." He's like, "No," he was probably not up quite all there because he got mad at us for stopping. And I said, "Well," I said, "I do have some the vitamin water in my car. I keep that in my car all the time for the electrolytes and stuff like that." So I gave him that, and
yes,
then I just called. I left him alone, and then I called the sheriff on the non-emergency line and said, "Can you guys just keep an eye on this guy because he looks like he's going to have a heart attack?" You know, um, and I told him what I did, and so that's all I could do because he refused help. You
right.
know, so but yeah, keeping water or Gatorade. I don't drink Gatorade, but I have that vitamin water that has the electrolytes and the vitamins in it and stuff like that. And I keep a case of that in my car um, just for those instances if somebody's getting dehydrated, you know.
Yes. I came up
Uh,
on a man. He was laying on the side of the road with a bicycle and not responsive, not responding. And it was over 100 degrees. And I did have a bottle of water in the car. And first, I wet a t-shirt, something,
yep.
and started just putting it on his face because he was breathing, he had a pulse. And then I started pouring it on his mouth, and then he started licking it. And
Hmm.
so then after a bit, he sat up. Of course, we had already called for help, but it was taking them a little bit to get there. And
Yeah.
um, started getting him to drink some. But then once help arrived, we did leave.
Yeah.
And
And
as
that's the
far as I
perfect.
knew, he wouldn't,
Yep. He
he
did.
refused service also.
Oh, yeah. And that's the perfect thing to do. You can only do what you can do, but for heat exhaustion like that, get them into the shade if there isn't a cool place, wetting
Yes.
down a towel with some water, getting them cooler, trying to cool them down is definitely, you did exactly the right thing. So, um,
I
yeah.
learned a
So,
couple of things in the fire department, but
hmm,
not all of it. I never did
well,
take the CPR course.
does your fire department offer first aid CPR classes? Because a lot of times they do. I don't know about yours.
Um, I'm not sure if the fire department does. I know the EMS does.
Hmm, yep. So, and what you can do too is, if you want to take a real class instead of just
Mhm.
getting advice from some person you don't know on the internet here, um, is call around your sheriff's department or the
Yes.
hospital or your fire department. A lot of times they will know, or you can even go on the AHA website and see if there's classes being offered in your area, like at a community center or through the sheriff's department or your local police department, the fire department, anything like that. So, you know, it, I'm pretty sure you'd be able to find some place that would be offering those classes. And those classes can range, up here they range about $80 for a class.
Mm-hmm.
So
It seems like it's about that much too.
yeah. And plan on spending the whole day.
Yes.
The first aid, for me in my training, the first aid class goes longer than the CPR because you've basically gone over just about everything in the first aid class that you would need to cover in the CPR class. And then it's just a matter of showing them the AED and doing the compressions with the Annie and testing them out. So.
Yeah. And that's probably why my kids were able to go join the fire department, because when the older ones got old enough, I had them take it. At that time, I think it was just called a babysitting course, but in that they taught them about choking, and I think that they had them doing CPR in there. And so they weren't like me in that way. But
well, if you have any other questions, you can, I don't know, I can put my number in private chat, I guess, or you can get it from Dorinda or Cindy or Jane or whatever way you want to do it. Yeah. I do work Monday through Friday. But, if I'm not available, I'll just text you back and say, hey, can you call me after this time? Or can I call you after this time? So, because my hours vary.
Oh, I understand. So, well, I really appreciate you explaining a lot of that.
Yeah.
That I had questions about.
It's probably explained more than you guys needed. Did anybody in chat have any questions? I wasn't really paying attention.
I'm not seeing any. The ones that are in chat seem to have it down.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of us, I think, especially in this community, I think a lot of people already know how to do that stuff in survival basics. It goes hand in hand with first aid, because that's part of, a grid down situation is being able to assess and treat basic first aid. Anything that you can't treat at home is going to need hospitalization, so,
And that's why I always wonder how those people, because I know there's some people that are completely self-sufficient in their own area.
Mm-hmm.
Surely somebody in there has had some kind of training, though, at least for.
Well, it comes from the community, because it's the people the people you surround yourself with. You just get tidbits of information through networking, communicating, spending time with your clan, and anything else you can find out on YouTube, and if you have any questions about it, you ask your little group, your inner circle, hey, I saw this on YouTube about doing this. Does that work? Or do you have a better solution? That type of thing. So, and it's just a lot of it's common sense, with putting the stuff that you need, just like people have bug out bags, putting the stuff you need that could possibly happen. Just think of the scenarios that you could possibly get yourself into in a non grid down situation, not that extreme, but what if you get stuck on the side of the road? What if, you get into an accident? What if, right? What if you run out of gas? That type of thing. So just thinking ahead and going, okay, well, here are the what if scenarios. How do I prevent that? Yes, Meg. Or how do I prepare myself for that? How am I going to get through that situation?
And that's what a lot of people don't seem to want to talk about. And I know Lake Ferry has shown her medical bag, and it's huge. It's she's got a lot of good stuff in it. I was sent a couple of things, a tourniquet, a some kind of a tube for breathing, I think, and I can't remember what all. And I always have rubber gloves. Our EMS just hands those out, and then they hand out these. It's like a pill bottle, but it's really big, and inside of it, it has a form to fill out, and you put down any allergies you have, any medications that you're on. All those things are listed on that, and they know that it stays in the refrigerator. It tells you put it in the refrigerator, so if they ever come to you, they go straight to the refrigerator to look for it. Excuse me 1 second, please. I have a rude daughter trying to get my attention.
Okay.
Hey, Dorinda.
There she
Hello.
is.
I just wanted to take a minute and say thank you, ComSense.
Oh,
That was awesome freaking information.
Yes.
thank you, Dorinda.
And Bonnie, I sent you by message ComSense number.
Oh, thank you, Dorinda.
Okay, thank you.
I messaged you, but you didn't answer me, but you said, Dorinda can give you the number, so I did it.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at my phone. Sorry.
No, I was waiting to hear if you answered my question to send it, but then you mentioned something about me sending the numbers, so I sent it right away.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm not an expert, and it obviously takes common sense, depending on what situation you run into, and you're going to be able to assess that situation within seconds. I guarantee it. Obviously, there's a hard and fast rule that you don't move somebody if you don't know if their neck is broken, right? Well,
Yep. Right.
that hard and fast rule is not going to be a hard and fast rule if the car's on fire and they're going to burn up if you leave them in there. So common sense tells you need to get them away from the immediate danger. Worry about the broken neck later.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
I know when my kids were little, my first aid experience, which is none, was put ice on everything. I didn't care what body part you hurt. Here's ice. Or frozen sponge. There you go. Leave me alone. But I didn't really have any, hard fast things that were happening. They were just scrapes, bumps, and bruises. So
Right. And
it wasn't anything like that.
Right. So like stuff for like a burn, right? If they burn their fingers. Yes. Well, EpiPens are patient specific. So my understanding is that you can't use somebody else's EpiPen on somebody that it's not prescribed for.
And most EpiPens have mushrooms in them. So if you're allergic to mushrooms, You can't have one of those because
Yeah.
that happened to my daughter.
Oh,
Because
wow.
she was having an allergic reaction. Somebody had an EpiPen and stabbed her. I'm just going to
Oh,
say it that way. And then she broke out into an extreme reaction because she was
yep.
having a reaction to mushrooms in the first place.
Oh, no. Yep.
It was
And
a
that's
nightmare.
why, my dad has EpiPens. He's allergic to bees, and he always keeps a couple of them with him. Most people who are allergic to something know they're allergic and have a prescribed EpiPen for them. So when you see somebody going into anaphylactic shock where they're swelling up, they can't breathe, whatever, you ask them, do you want my help? And they'll usually say yes and say, are you having an allergic reaction? They'll shake their head, yes. Where's your EpiPen? Would you like me to help you with that? Yes, because that is something
When
that
when
has to go into a
when
muscle.
my daughter had the reaction, she had never
Mhm.
been allergic to mushrooms before.
Right. Then you shouldn't. That's a 911. You need to get her to the hospital
Well,
because,
that's what they did. But one of the students had an EpiPen,
yeah, that's
and
not.
he was trying to help. I'll
I
say it
know.
was. I don't know if it was a he or a she or what. It was a hit. And smacked her with it, and she just freaking blew it up like it was crazy.
Yeah.
And that's I have an EpiPen, but when I did start having anaphylactic, I did not have an EpiPen at that time, and Benadryl and magnesium stopped it.
Yep. Yep.
And so Benadryl and magnesium in your bug out bag
Yep.
for an allergic reaction.
Yeah, and that's, if it's a mild reaction, Benadryl will take care of it. But if it goes to the point where, like some people are allergic to peanuts or very highly allergic to bee stings, their throat will close up and they can't breathe. And if they
Yes.
don't know they're allergic to that stuff, they need to get to the hospital so that they can give them something. And usually
Yeah.
they
Well,
do give them that epinephrine.
when they took her to the hospital,
Mm,
they're like, okay, she's having an allergic reaction. We don't know what she's allergic to because nobody knew what the hell had happened.
right.
And uh, they said that she had an EpiPen. Yes, somebody shot her with an EpiPen. Da 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 da. Well, you did the right thing, but not in this case,
Hmm.
because she. And then I mean, um, the principal went with her to the hospital, and
Hmm.
they never called me.
What?
They never called me. Okay.
Oh,
Uh, and the principal looked after her, brought her back to school, and whatever. And she caught the bus home and whatever. And she was telling me about her little episode of the day. And I'm like, um, I've been home all day. Why the hell didn't I get a call?
oh yeah, I would have been on that one.
So
Mama Bear would have come out
the
to
next
me.
morning, okay, she got the bus to school. She's like, Mom, stay calm. Everything's cool. Da, 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 da. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, I'm fuming,
Hmm.
fuming. I'm like, okay, Sam, not a problem. Da, 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 da. I never said I wouldn't go to the school
Yeah.
because, you know, before 9 a.m. when the alarm went on or the announcements went on and all that kind of stuff that goes on in the mornings, I'm
Yep.
already in the principal's office screaming and yelling like a banshee mother, okay, that is like irate. And the principal was really nice, okay. She didn't take offense to anything I said, and I wasn't very nice. And she apologized up, down, and whatever, and said like because things were happening so fast, she never even she wanted to get Sam to the hospital, make sure she was okay, and that was her utmost priority. And
Mhm.
as a mom, you kind of understand that.
Yeah.
So I kind of took a step back and went, okay, I understand that. I said, but you still could have called.
Yep, she should have had the secretary, because usually they have a secretary
Yep.
in the
A
and say,
nurse.
hey, call
But
this man, call this
everything happened so fast.
month.
When the teacher called the principal and said, Samantha is having some kind of reaction, okay, to the food in the class, she went into Hell Hitler mode,
Right,
and she was in charge of everything. And the secretary had no freaking idea what was going on
right.
because everything happened so quickly. And she never even told the secretary she left.
Oh,
Okay. She just up and followed that ambulance and was right there, right?
yeah.
And that's what she explained to me. She goes, the staff had no idea what the hell was going on. All they knew was Samantha had a reaction, and they didn't know what kind of a reaction. They didn't know that Samantha had been taken to the hospital because nobody told them. So they're not going to
Well,
call mom when they have no idea, right?
sometimes
Wow.
it's best not to, because I was
Yeah.
working 50 miles from home and dropped my kids off at school before I headed to work. And when I got home that evening, my daughter said, you might want to call chief of police. He wants to talk to you. And I'm like, why? He'll explain it to you. Well, come to find out, 5 girls had left the school, my daughter being one of them, and last seen at the river. And they could not find these 5 girls. They had the DPS fixing to start dragging the river. One of the
Oh,
mothers had to be put in the ambulance because she was, well, and so of course all the mothers were all, the whole town was all freaked out. And so he said he was kind of glad that he didn't have my number because he knew I wouldn't be in any shape to drive to get there.
Mm-hmm.
yep.
So
Wow.
it all turned out good. They were at some girl's house smoking cigarettes. The school really gave them some discipline, and she didn't do it again, but
It's one of those moments where when you first lay eyes on them, you're just like grateful that they're okay and happy to see
you
them.
know,
And then in a
yeah,
split second, you want to just slap them and go, don't you ever
yes,
do that to me again.
yes. That's one of those I have to stay calm moments, or I'm gonna kill her.
Yeah. No, it was. I mean, the principal was really good, and she explained her side of the story, and I understood her side of the story. I said, but okay, we're like the next day now. And she goes, the secretary tried to call you 10 minutes ago.
Oh,
She
Oh,
goes, and I tried to call you 10 minutes ago. She says, but you were on your way here.
mhm.
And I'm like, yeah, I can understand that. Not a problem. We're doing good. And
Wow.
everything worked out well. I mean, the kids still can't have mushrooms, and all of the Canadian EpiPens have mushrooms in them.
Really?
So my daughter cannot have an EpiPen in Canada.
Wow.
And it's
Excuse
not
me
like
for
I
a
can
minute.
so how did you find that
go
out,
online
Dorinda?
and order it and have it delivered because it won't get here.
But how did you find out the EpiPen had mushrooms in it?
My daughter researched it, and she went to Health Canada and da 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 da, and they said yes, they have mushrooms in them. And she goes, well, what about
Oh,
people
okay.
with allergies to mushrooms? She goes, well, you're screwed. That is the Canadian policy right now.
Well, I don't know.
Another
My
Canadian
allergist,
policy. We love them. Not.
my allergist is the one that told me about the Benadryl and magnesium, stopping it.
Well, I've written that down, Bonnie.
Because
Thank
I
you.
mean, I felt my throat closing, and I don't call an ambulance for me for anything. And I asked my husband to call the ambulance, and um, he didn't. And so I went and stood in a parking lot thinking, okay, if somebody sees me go down, maybe I'll get help. But I just kept on switching. I would take some Benadryl, then I'd take some magnesium, then I'd take some Benadryl, then I'd do the magnesium. And I kept doing it until I felt when it stopped. I mean, it was like just instant when it stopped.
Yeah, I knew
And
about the
pulse went back
Benadryl.
to normal.
I didn't know about the magnesium. That's really good to know.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is good to know. Thank you, Bonnie.
So I keep it
I'll be
on
my
hand all
kids
the time.
magnesium.
Research it to make sure, because it worked on me, but that doesn't mean it's going to work on everybody. But
Where's your pen and paper? Pen and paper. Sorry.
excuse me a moment.
Sure. So I was really impressed with your stuff tonight, Comsense. I really was.
Oh, thank you. It's just something
And
I
I'm like, okay, they're still chatting, and Dorinda's gonna go up there and screw everything up, but she just wanted you to know that it was awesome.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I never quite know how I'm gonna be received. So that's very nice of you to say that, because yeah, that's one of the reasons why I won't do a YouTube channel, is because I don't have that thick of a skin when it comes to that kind of stuff. I just go, you don't even know me, you know.
No, see,
So
I'm definitely not like that.
yeah, I kind of got that, which is why I admire you.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
I have a
It's like,
tendency to my mouth gets me into more trouble than you can imagine.
Yep.
I'm strong and I stand up for myself when I have to, but I try to stay away from those situations. You know what I mean?
Oh no,
Just
I
avoid-
jump in. I jump in. Both feet, fist is swinging. Yeah, no, and I'm trying to not be like that, which is why I come to Bonnie's channel, because she's so calming and she makes me feel that I can do things without being an asshole about it.
Yes,
Did I
there's
say that
always.
correctly, Bonnie?
I hope so. I don't know. But yes, there's always calm ways to deal with things. But the calmer I get, or okay, the quieter I get, the more they know something's up.
And
Stay
shit's
away
gonna hit
from
the
me.
fan.
Yep.
When I get really quiet, everybody starts walking on eggshells around here. And they're like, is everything okay? Is everything okay? Is everything okay? You're getting too quiet. I'm just quiet right now. No.
Yeah.
What's wrong? Nothing. Like, I'm
Yep.
trying to be calmer now, folks. Calm down.
Yeah, there are certain issues that I can't stay quiet about, and you know, I do get pretty up there, But I had this guy who was riding my ass into a Menards parking lot, and there were cars all over the place, and cars moving and stuff like that. So I'm following the lines, and this guy whips across some open spots and comes over and parks like right where my driver's side door was, and he just stops. Scared the shit out of me, right? Because I didn't know if he was gonna stop or not. And I look at him and I go, and he's like,
Yes.
so I got out of the car. And the guy comes up to me and goes, "You got something to say to me?" I said, "Well, now that you ask, yeah, I do. Do you know what these lines are for in the parking lot?" And he couldn't. He just stood there. "Well, I wasn't going to hit you or nothing." I go, "Well, I didn't know that. You came barreling in like a bat out of hell and just slammed on your brakes right at my car door." And he's like, "Well, maybe you should just watch where you're going." I'm like, "Me? Watch where I'm going?" I said, "Look, dude, I was in the driveway part. You're cutting through parking lanes." I go, "Do you not know what rules are? Do you not know what these parking spaces are for and what alleys are for, whatever those are called?" And he's
courtesy,
just like,
anyway.
"Yeah." And I said, and Steve's with me, right? And he just backs off, right? And stays about 20 feet away from me. He thought I was going to go ballistic, And this guy goes, "Yeah, whatever, He goes to Steve, he goes, "You need to keep that whatever he called me under control." And I just looked at Steve, and Steve's like, "Let's go, or I'm going to pound this guy into the ground." So we went into the store, and he followed us in, and then he turned around and he left. And it's just like, Steve was like, "Holy shit, I thought I was going to come to blows." And he goes, "Reminds me never to make a redheaded Irish woman mad." Just like, well, whatever. So, and I have red highlights, but I don't really have red hair. But yeah, somebody makes me mad enough and they come up, and I wasn't going to say anything to him, but he's the one who approached me and asked me if I had a problem. I'm going to tell you if I got a problem. So.
Sorry.
Hello, D-Dog.
Hi, D-Dog. Okay, I think all the noise has stopped in here now. I was like, is this life or death? The way she was acting.
And how old is she?
26.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
All over, where's the printer paper? Because I'm packing. And I'm like,
oh, no.
You see this pile of boxes? It's probably under them.
So are you still moving down to where your mom is?
Yes.
Okay.
That's still the plan.
Okay. Did you guys figure that all out as far as a place to stay down there? And
Yes, I have a down payment on a home.
nice.
I bought one of the FEMA homes that they just use for offices, and they're cheap, and it's something to live in. And then as soon as this sells, then I can pay the mortgage on this, pay for that, debt free, done.
Nice.
Awesome.
That's
Okay.
how you do it.
I'm going to have another stupid question for you, Bonnie, because you mentioned it a couple of weeks ago.
Uh-oh.
Are your sister-in-law, whatever the heck it is, still wanting to put your parents in a home?
That's been their goal for years. Um, it will not happen as long as I'm
Okay.
breathing.
I just wanted to make sure everything, like they weren't going to throw the freaking get you moved there and then, oh, we're selling the property. Like, I was just worried about
No,
that kind of
um,
stupid stuff.
no, everything's being taken care of, and
Okay. I'm protective of my Bonnie, and I
oh,
didn't
I
want
know. Don't,
that
don't
person
worry.
to
So is
screw
my
with me.
mom. All of a sudden, um, she had a talk with my brother, and uh, so things changed, and um, it'll be all right.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I was
Hello,
worried.
Will.
So I I haven't said anything in a while, and I was just worried.
No, it'll be okay. She's in a hurry for me to get there, and when I was talking to her yesterday, she said, "You really need to get out here," and I said, "Yeah, Mom." I said, "Just get that, and when I sell this, I pay you, pay the bank, everything's good." Well, husband can't really do that. Okay. And so she said, "I'm going to start picturing that." And that must be where I got that from or something. Whenever I said, when you start thinking positively and you start picturing it happening, that it happens. And
Mm-hmm.
Called manifesting.
yes. And yeah, I did a show on that, trying to um, get that going. I'm not sure that everybody's doing it, but we did talk about it.
Everybody's at a different level, you know.
Yes.
Good night,
So,
Jen.
but right now with the Schumann resonance and um, some of the other energies, I don't know if everybody else can feel it, but I can feel it. Um, it just seems like this is a good time to be doing stuff like that.
Night.
Thinking positively and thinking like you already have it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even however high up you want to go.
I ask God all the time. So yeah, that's my go-to person or my
Well, yes.
whatever you want to call it. Um, yeah, and I'm not afraid to say that either. I know a lot of people are like, but I don't come down on anybody else for what they believe or what they believe in. Um, that's their choice. But
No
I,
way.
you know, what?
Well, I don't know what's wrong with Dorinda, but
My dog farted.
Oh,
Ugh.
okay. Good night,
okay.
Jim.
I thought you were having a bad reaction to what I was saying.
I know
No,
something.
I don't smell. Okay? So when my dog does a really big fart and I smell it, that's a big freaking deal. Oh, my
Well,
eyes are
so is
watering
this.
for crying out loud.
This is a big deal, too. 15-year firefighter medic. They were asked to remove the American stickers from their helmets.
That's wrong.
That is
American
very
flag
wrong.
stickers. Are you in New York, Will's Garage?
I'm so sorry that that's happening to you, Will's Garage.
I wouldn't do it.
No,
I
I wouldn't
mean,
either.
that's just me, but
No.
Holy crap.
T-Dog's allergic to stupid people. John said, dog dropped a bomb on Dorinda. Ha ha ha.
Oh. I'm sorry about that, folks. That was
He's
freaking
from
me out for a minute.
Michigan. Michigan, that surprises me.
Doesn't surprise me. Depends on what part of Michigan he's in. They got some, I mean, geez, they've got that freaky looking governor that looks like Beetlejuice.
But they got
Um,
people like Dog.
Isn't she
Will's
the
Garage
Northern
right
Detroit
above
or
you is
something?
T-Dog.
D-Dog's there, and
George.
Z-Man,
See,
and
Jeff
oh, what's
Riddle.
her name? Yeah, Jeff Riddle,
Mhm.
Nikki. Yep,
Yeah.
yeah, they're all fighting that stuff. Yep, we got the same here.
They're all going to.
We got a
And
stupid governor in both the state I live in and the state right next to me. So
that's the way to do it, though. If everybody walks out, these are firefighters and EMTs. What are they going to do without them? Same with the police. I mean, I know there's good and bad and everything, but the police are being held back. I wouldn't be a police officer right now for anything. I'm sure all of the first responder positions, I always just have such admiration for anyone who can do that, because I know that it's a hard job to do. Here, it's well, our EMS, I don't think are volunteer, but I know the fire department is, and I've seen. Goodness, my son's been in the ambulance. I don't know how many times. The smoke inhalation, the heat, because the uniforms that they have to wear to fight the fires are just, they weigh like, I don't know, 50 pounds or so. And it's just, they're all tough jobs. The things that they have to deal with daily, it is hard. That's awesome, Carol.
So it looks like Will said that not all the guys will do it, but maybe they're just, I mean, this is just me thinking off the top of my head. Maybe they're scared, unless they're really, really woke. But that mob mentality that the bad side has can also work on the good side. If one person does it, everybody, you know what I mean? It's like standing up to the bully. Nobody stands up to the bully until one brave person stands up, and then you see everybody else going, oh, I don't like what he's doing either, so I'm going to stand with him. And the more people you get that crowd mentality.
Yes.
You know, you might be surprised, if you stood up and said no, or you've talked to your other department guys that you're with that don't want to take that off. Just take a stand together and say, no, we're not taking it off. Just don't do it, and then if you're confronted with it, hopefully the other guys will stand behind you, the ones that said they won't. If there's power in numbers,
Absolutely. And that's what I was trying to find, that video. There's a video I saw, and it was prisoners of war, and I don't know what war. And one started singing, I think it was the national anthem. They were starving, they were skin and bones, they were just being treated like slaves, and worse than slaves, like worse than animals. And he just started singing, and then all the other guys, one by one, started standing up singing along with him. And that's how you do it.
It just
But
takes one person.
to say America is a race, it's okay. And that goes back to the phone call I was talking about the other day when the CDC called and wanted to do a survey. I wouldn't do it, but my daughter said, let me talk to her. I'm going to have some fun with this. And so she was talking to her whenever she asked, what race are you? I said, say American. And she said, American. And she said, no. And she kept arguing with her. And I said, ask her what she is. She asked her, she said, Asian. Well, if you can say you're Asian, how come we cannot say we are American? How come Germans can say they're German, French can say they're French, every other country can say what they are, but it's another form of taking away our patriotism that we have got to hang on to. That is
Yeah.
the only way we're going to get this country back, is to all keep that in our hearts. God, family, country. That's what we
Yeah.
live by.
You're so right, Bonnie. And thank you for your service with Garage.
Yes, thank you very much. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Content's having issues.
Yep,
Sorry, Bonnie. I did not
absolutely.
mean to interrupt your show tonight. I apologize.
You're all right. God bless all our vets and all our first responders and everybody. Everybody's out there doing a job that is helping somebody in some way.
Mhm.
No job is for nothing. But when you put your life on the line, of course, that makes it,
Even more.
yes. Okay, if I put you up here and I take the other one down, you're still
Yeah.
going to be here. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. My internet just disconnected for some reason. It said no internet access, and then everybody started circling, whatever they call that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Buffering? Whatever.
that's okay. Okay, it went away. I almost kicked the other one, and then I remembered what happened the last time, and I was like, nope, leave it there. But it went away.
Okay. I'll be right back.
I am all about our veterans. They just,
Yes.
they, some gave all, and
Yeah.
that's
Our
we
vets
have to
too.
remember. Yeah, and that's, I know that yesterday was a hard day for them too, because they were called back out. A lot of them were called back out to,
I have no idea what happened yesterday because where I was had no internet. So I know
God bless you, Will
nothing
Scarlett.
that
I
happened
hope you come
yesterday.
back, and thank you. Hope to see you again.
Good night, Will.
Well, yesterday was the anniversary of,
Yeah.
and not, I mean, nothing happened that I know of. I did see something today about the 14th, but um, I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna. All these dates that keep getting put out there, it's like, just stop. Just
Yeah.
stop. Just trying to create fear in people, and it
Yeah.
just needs to stop.
We don't need fear.
No fear.
God says no fear. Fear not. Okay. I'm heading to the kitchen for a minute. I'll be right back.
Yep.
Oh, Stinky Bones
Tennessee
and
Red Runner.
to the house.
NC Debs. How are y'all? Garrett, exactly. If it happens, it happens. It's beyond our control. There's nothing we can do. If we can control it, control it. And that's why we just need to keep praying, get right with God, because you never know. I agree, Cindy. That's if you go east of me, you can really tell those cities. Um, they have had shootings at people just because they had a American flag on their vehicle or something, and I saw a few cave that were being harassed for flying their flag. Not me. Mine flew until it went to shreds, and now I need to get me a new one. Hi, Louise. It's good to see you. um, Louise, we had a first aid discussion, and Calm Sense was up here telling us about C- CPR, and we talked about choking, and we talked about um, things to have in your first aid kit,
Things to have in your car.
things to have in your car in case you come up on something or someone that needs help. And absolutely, Deb, and that's it. I'm not gonna sit in fear, hide in fear.
You guys watch Brian Hall, y'all, at all? He always says, don't be scared, be prepared.
Yes,
Yep. I think as long as you're prepared to the best of your ability for any scenario that you could possibly think of, it relieves a lot of that fear, and like you said, it says, do not fear 365 times in the Bible for every day of the year, you know. Um,
yeah,
and I used to live in fear a lot. I used to have anxiety attacks over things that I couldn't control because I couldn't control them, right?
yes,
And just learned to let go, um, and just look back on other situations that I got in and was like, you know what? Me worrying about it or being afraid of it never changed the outcome. So I wasted a lot of time worrying about stuff
yeah,
and being afraid of stuff.
yeah,
I'm not to say that I'm void of fear or worry because I still do it. I'm human. Um, but it's gotten a lot better to where I don't have anxiety attacks anymore, rarely. So
yeah,
um, that's the best advice I can give. Just know that whatever is supposed to happen is supposed to happen, and be prepared for what you can be prepared for, and Just accept the things you cannot change. Isn't that's an AA thing, isn't it? God
Yes.
grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Well, I believe it's a prayer in the Bible.
Yeah, but that's what they use. That's where I learned that prayer was Al-Anon meetings.
Yeah. I'm getting it.
Oh, Louise.
And it's not like you can just say it and it magically happens. You have to work on it every day and remind yourself, okay, number one, I've always, my mom taught me this. Number one, is what I'm worrying about, number one, going to change anything? Number two, is anybody going to die if I don't figure this out? Right? If not,
Just one moment, common sense.
yep.
Okay, all I can read is SSC TV. What do you mean by give you jacket? I don't understand what you're saying. Please tell me your purpose.
I think he was already blocked by Red.
Well, I blocked the first two, but
No, okay, sorry. I didn't know it was you. I thought it was Red.
I don't know if Red's still here. She had something she had to take care of. Um, I would rather not do that until I've seen you here for a while. SSC TV. I'm sorry about that, but yep, the Serenity Prayer.
Hard luck was saying day jacket is a wrench. Is that like a slang word for a wrench?
Like he wants a wrench, or they, he, she,
Whoever
I
they,
don't know. Yes.
yeah. This isn't a grow channel. What does that mean?
There are channels out there that you can go to and they automatically mod you, and then they tell you to drop your link and all the people in that chat will sub to you. It's a way that I have no desire to get subs.
Yeah.
It
We
if
just do it through our community, right? Because if somebody knows somebody, they drop it in their channel, and then, I don't know if you watch Z-Man, but they do that. If somebody in the group is starting a channel, then they're like, go over and sub to this person, growing it that way.
yes, and that's
Yeah.
how I would rather do it, is in the community. Um, Someone did tell me about that channel. I went to it, saw what it was about, and I was like, no, that's not how I want to do that.
Okay. Wow, I'm learning a lot tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. And yes, there are bot channels.
Yeah, how did all those people from other countries get on Shane's channel?
I tried to explain that to him. Um, there when you're gaming, and that's why a lot of them are children. Um, when they're gaming, they may get an advertisement with recommendations, and then it'll pop up like that. Um, so no, I don't trust that. And then there is a actual game, or maybe it's the gamers, where they can get paid. If they get in your chat, they get paid. If they or they get some kind of prize, something. If they get up on panel, they get even more. And so I try to keep that from happening because um, it just can bring trouble, and I don't want to have any of that.
That's the first time I've ever seen that happen on a channel. It's like, whoa, what's going on? So, yeah, yeah, learning a lot. Still not going to do a YouTube channel though. I have to give you kudos, Bonnie. It takes a lot of guts, I swear, to do your own channel. That's
It's taken me a year to catch on and learn all these different things that people can do to you. Um,
Can you mute that real quick?
you know, I've been uh, attacked a few times, and it's okay. I'm strong. I can take it. You're not going to run me off that easy. So I just keep on going. Um, excuse me a moment again, please.
No problem, Bonnie.
yeah, Dorinda, you got your own show too, right? Or your own channel?
Yeah, I have 2 videos up
Okay.
on how to make a wreath.
Okay.
How to make well, it's like a Halloween wreath, but mine was a 3-dimensional wreath that I bought. Like the frame I bought was a 3-dimensional wreath.
Oh, nice.
And then I ended up putting, like, because it had like 8 pieces that went around it. Well, I've stuck 2 together, so I only had 4.
Okay.
Sorry,
What?
the dog's back.
Oh. Oh boy.
I'm hoping he's quiet and doesn't fart.
What kind of dog?
Lab.
Oh, nice. I always
Walter,
wanted a lab.
come here. Hang on, I show you my dog.
Yeah, is he a yellow lab, black lab? Ah, black lab. Oh.
He thinks he's a lap dog.
Uh-huh.
He's 130 freaking pounds, and he thinks he's a lap dog.
What's his name?
Walter.
Walter. Hey,
Yeah.
Walter.
Look, see, they're talking to you.
Hey, Walter.
Yeah. Thank you. Go lay down. Over there. Over there. If you're gonna fart, go over there.
Captain Fingers here. Hi,
Where
Shane.
did you poop?
Hello.
Hello,
How are y'all?
Shane.
I think
I've been down there clerking, just watching.
Working.
Address? Because it has to be a home address.
that's the only thing that has a physical aspect.
Sorry, Bonnie.
Where do you see it at?
Yes, Louise, I made that light behind me.
No. Where? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Here's your camera real quick. This one has real quick. Sorry. I'll be on your camera.
Bring it back.
Here's one.
Sorry about that.
Bonnie, I wanted to come up and tell you thank you for the help earlier when I was having trouble finding common senses stuff. Trying to. I couldn't find it nowhere, so I didn't know what the hell happened. But you fixed it. And she said, "Can I get the wrench back?" Apparently not.
You know, you're stuck with it.
Like, don't worry about it. I don't expect you to mod. Just,
Okay.
yeah, you know, I've known her for a year and a half now, so I didn't figure it was right just to shut her out the door.
Well, I mean, I can mod in an emergency if you teach me how. I'll be honest, I can't. I have a really hard time being on panel and watching the chat at the same time.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. It's tough when you're doing. Yeah, you can only do one or the other. You can't. It's hard to do both, even
yeah,
for me. And I sure Bonnie, she don't have much trouble because she uses her. If I'm not mistaken, Bonnie, don't you use your phone for your modding and your computer for your show?
Yes.
Okay, I thought that's how you did it.
Did you
I can't use my phone for anything. I don't know
did you
how it
see that,
works.
Dorinda?
Yes.
Did you see what Louise said?
Antacid. Yes, I wrote that down. Antacids reduce farts. Okay, there we go. I'll buy antacids. I'm not even sure what that is.
how about
We'll
Pepto
figure it out.
Bismol? Will that work? You give a dog
Tums or
Pepto?
Rolaids, Tums or Rolaids crushed up in their food will help.
Um, Comsense, can you make a comment in chat so that I can go to your channel and drop your link? Do you have,
I don't have a channel.
so you don't
I
have content or anything?
Well, I have a channel, but I just have a couple of videos on there. One is that funny clown one, and then the other one is the military singing "God Bless the USA" with Stephen or with Greenwood. Um, that's it. I've never made any videos or anything like that.
That's up to you if you want your channel dropped.
I don't even know how to do that. I don't
Okay.
even know where to find my channel link. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I didn't either. Bonnie and all them had to teach me. I didn't even know I had one.
Yeah.
John, you found it. You're a mod, aren't you? Where you could drop the link?
Who's that?
John.
I think John is.
Found what? My channel link?
Yes.
There's not much on there. Just
That's pretty bad. Hey, I understand because that was pretty bad. I had to go click one of their links they dropped of me to go find me. It was sad.
Oh, I went to YouTube. I went to my little icon thing, and it asked me to go to channel. I'm like, okay, what's channel?
No. Just sorry. Shannon. Sorry.
Common sense, John.
Okay, if she comes again. Oh,
Well,
I
it's gonna be
think
muted.
John said he found the other channel that there's a link for up there. I don't think
Okay.
it was Common Sense. Okay. Sorry, John.
We got confused. It happened.
Yeah, last time I looked on my channel, it said 0 views. So nobody's looking for me.
They don't know you're there, just like you don't.
It's like, that's fine with me.
All right, y'all. We've been up here for 2.5 hours. It's almost 11 here, and so I'm gonna shut it down pretty quick. Is there anything else you want to say about first aid that we might have forgotten, or
Not that I can think of without a specific, without either going through the whole class with you guys or having a specific question. It has to be pretty specific. So
right?
I will say this: if somebody gets something stuck in them, their eye, their shoulder, their stomach, do not remove whatever it is in their body. Just immobilize it and get them some help, because you can do more damage pulling it out. They will bleed out on you.
Yeah.
God bless you too, Louise. Thank you. Thank you, Anna Marie. Well, if y'all don't have any questions for Common Sense, I'm going to go ahead and close it down.
All right. Everybody stay positive. Keep God in your heart. And be kind.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Bonnie.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Night, Louise. Love you. Night, Anna Marie. Love you too.
Good
Carol.
night, everybody. Love you all.
Deb.
Thank you for having me up.
You are so welcome. Thank you for coming up and helping out with that. That was
Absolutely.
awesome.
Anytime.
for
You got
having
my
me,
number
Bonnie.
now.
Yes.
All right. Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night, Common Sense. Y'all have a blessed night. Thank you for joining. We'll see you Thursday. God bless you and stay strong. Find that patriotism and get right with God. Love y'all. Keep your head on a swivel. Good night.